Okay. So today I get to lull you into false sense of security. Today's is probably going to seem really easy for you, and that's okay. What I want you guys to keep in mind and keep as like your focus or your goal is just kind of like the general idea of summation notation, like to be comfortable using it. So tomorrow I'm going to tie it into calc, and what would be a great way to say this? Summation notation isn't too bad unless you try to rush through it. And if you try to rush through summation notation and get to the calc level of problems of summation notation, then it seems like a nightmare. So because Mr. Stouffer and I decided to just finish out this chapter this trimester, I am purposely going to take our time on summation notation so that it's not going to feel confusing for you. Honestly, the rest of the unit is like the beginnings of integration, and you probably won't find that bad. This isn't supposed to be the hardest part of it, but if we rush through it, it definitely is. So I'm going to go slow on summation notation. If nothing, do know that it's not a big part of the AP test. It's it's on there. It's not a big part of it. But it's really confusing if you just fly through it. So I want to take it slow. And so that's my goal for today. So today we're basically doing like the Algebra 2 version of it. The thing is, it seems like some years summation notation gets taught in Algebra 2 and other years not. And so I'm not going to assume that you guys have had it. From the feeling I have yesterday, I think a lot of you haven't seen summation notation. I know I heard a couple people say that they saw it in physics. So I'm going to assume you guys haven't had it in Algebra 2. So I'm going to treat it that way. So today might feel stupid easy for you if you've already seen summation notation. So let's talk about the notation first. And for whoever just put up the question, wondering about grades by the end of the trimester. So we have one test left, and that essentially means that we have one set of formative homework and one test. I believe we have 2 tests in there right now, and so it could effectively adjust your grade quite a bit depending on how well you do. Obviously, I'm not going to even remotely try to predict exactly how much a grade can change, but it definitely can theoretically change it depending on how well you do compared to how well you currently are doing. Okay, so this little capital E, I'm really bad at drawing it for one. Like the correct way to write it is like this. I can't stand taking the time to write that, so I usually just write the terrible E that I did right there. Whenever you see this symbol, this represents the fact that you are going to add up all of the answers that you produce from this. So you're always going to have some sort of equation right here. And this equation is what you're going to repeatedly add up. And to know how many times to add it up, you're going to have the variable. And the variable in the equation does not have to be the same variable as the one down here. So that's definitely something to look out for. This, I don't want to say iterations. Honestly, that's why you see an I here a lot of times, though. But it can be any variable. So if I'm reading this, it's telling me to add up from n to 1 to 3. So this is like your starting number. This is your ending number. And you are going to plug in 1, 2, and 3 into n, and then add up the answers. And like I said, so if you've seen this notation before, this is definitely easy. But I want you to be comfortable with this before we move on to the calc portions of it. So our first term would be to plug 1 in. So we'd have 2 times 1 minus 1. This is first term. Plus, now we would going to put 2 in place of n. So 2 times 2 minus 1. And then plus, and then the last number in this example is 3. So then 2 times 3 minus 1. So you don't have to start at 1, and you always would go by integer numbers until whatever's at the top. So, like in this example, we only had three values to plug in, 1 to 3. So 1, 2, and 3. If they're easy enough, you can just calculate them. If they're not something that's easy to put together, we can just leave it as separate terms, like saying plus plus. So like for this one though, this is 1 plus 4 minus 1 is 3, 6, 5. So this one, it's not an issue or a big deal to actually calculate. So absolutely. Why don't you guys, do you guys have any kind of questions about the notation or the setup of it so far? Or am I going ridiculously slow? Like, is this something you have seen and this is absolutely easy? Maybe type it in the chat or something. I don't know, if you guys don't want to speak out loud. Okay. Okay. So today in Khan Academy, that's going to be my goal. My goal is just these problems, just summation notation. Tomorrow, we're going to move on to the calc versions. So you have very little to do in Khan Academy today. I definitely saw that some people are already behind, which kind of blows my mind. Especially because for some reason, it's weird to me that a lot of people procrastinate. Like, I have so many calc students that are anxious about their grades and their scores because they're all, worried about all the things that go with them. But at the same time, I have a ton of people that procrastinate all their work. And those two 100% are competing objectives. Like, you guys have to make sure to get your homework done in time so that isn't going to feel difficult. Why don't I put one up for you guys to try? I can kind of call on somebody to lead us through what they did. So try that one really quickly. And actually, this probably isn't even terrible. This is probably good for those of you who are going to take the ACT this year, because I'm pretty sure this is on the ACT. Cameron, how about you? Cam, can you help me with this one? Like, what are we supposed to do? I'm not worried about the final answer, just like what did you use to get an answer? Reversed. Start at the... Yep. Perfect. And then you add them together, right? Correct. So this is 1 is the first number you plug in, 4 is the last number, and then you go by integers. And then whatever that adds up to is your answer. So what do we got? 16, 25, 29, 30. Yeah, very good. Anybody kind of have any questions on this one? And I really want to emphasize the starting value being on the bottom and the ending value being on the top, because that's going to be the way that our integers are going to be written as well for calc. Okay, so I think I'm going to skip my next example. I don't know, maybe I'll just write it down fast for you. The next example I was going to do, or have you guys try, was this one. And the only difference is that you don't start at 1. So it doesn't matter what the bottom number starts at, right? So you're going to go from 4 to 6. So 4 is the first value you plug in. 5 would be the next value. 6 would be the last. All right, let's move it up a notch here. So I feel like you guys are doing pretty well at this. Kennedy, how about you? Can you help guide me through this one, do you think? Okay. What should we do? Or what's weird or different or difficult about this one, possibly? Okay, perfect. So the focus that you're looking at is n is the variable we're worried about. And there is an n in there, even if there wasn't, but correct. So what you're going to do is nothing. If there's another variable, you're only going to plug numbers in place of n. So you just kind of leave this one alone. So what would be my first term? Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So you're definitely going to run into this. This is going to be part of the calc versions, and that's why we're covering this one. So very good. If you have a variable that's not your focus, it's just going to remain what it is. And at some point, you may plug a number in for k later, and then you can do that. But for right now, we don't know what it stands for, so we just leave it. And in this particular one, I'm not going to take the time to add these together. I mean, I could common denominator them, but... Oh, definitely, yeah. I can always answer questions on previous day's homework, so somebody put one up there about midpoint and trapezoid. Absolutely. We're definitely going to finish this early. There's no question about that. Let's see. I'm assuming it's Mackenzie, who possibly wants to go by Ken's. No, that's fine. It's going to be easy to remember. That's my daughter's name. Can you help me fill out this one? Perfect. Okay. Ooh, I shouldn't say K. Correct. So if it does help you guys, you can certainly kind of write it like I'm doing, where you want to separate the terms. Because if everything's just written with like all sorts of plus and minus signs, it can look confusing. So if it helps you, you can kind of do organization techniques to help you out there. Now on this one, 100% we could combine things together. Like we have 4 8Ks that are being added. What you're going to find in the homework for today is that frequently that isn't done. And so it's not a big deal one way or another. It is possible they'll be combined. It is also possible that these 4 things would be the written answer. So don't assume you're always going to have to combine, even though to me it seems like you should, but minus 6, minus 12, 18, minus 18, 36, minus 24, 60. That's a question mark on the 60. But yes, okay, good. Honestly, I'm just going to put up 4 of them that are, I went and took them directly from like the homework that you guys are going to get on this. And so you very well won't have these questions because they rotate a lot of them. But I'll put up 4 of them that I took from the homework just so you guys can see what kind of the questions you're going to have today. Let's go with, no, what color should we go with? Black. So we have sum from 1 to 4. To ij plus 8j squared. Question 2. If you are given the answers, figure out which summation notation it came from. Okay. So, 2 different style questions. Obviously the first and the third one are for you to just kind of calculate it and find the answers. The second and fourth one, you are given the answers and you have to identify which ones it came from. Why don't I give you guys 3, 4, I don't know how much time you did. Let's say 3, 4 minutes to try to do these. And then, I'll kind of call on people to try to help me through it. And then honestly, this will be the end for today for summation notation. And so a couple people, it sounds like some people have questions on Riemann sums. As I'll remind you again, though, I don't want you to have a full sense of security thinking that this is so easy. This is supposed to be easier for you. I want you to be comfortable using the notation again before we kind of move on to the calc versions. So today should be really easy. With any extra time you guys have, make sure you do yesterday's work as well. The first one is 2ij. Yes, I have a lot of problems writing i's and j's next to each other. Oh, that's a terrible J, but we're going to go with it. Yes, it's 2ij. Alexanne, do you have the first one done? Do you think you could help me through that one? Okay, that'll work. Okay, so you should have 4 different kind of answers or terms. What was your first term? How come 4i? Ah, gotcha. No. Yeah, so what you're actually going to do is you're just going to... Oh, did you actually like FOIL it? Or just squared? Okay, so you're actually just going to write it as 2i plus 8 squared. If you wanted to FOIL it, you could. I'm certainly not going to have you guys FOIL it because this would just take forever for it wouldn't serve any good purpose. The plus sign in the middle means that we can't just square both. Yeah. Perfect. There you go. Okay, good. Very good. Does anybody kind of have any questions on number 1 that maybe they're not sure of what they wrote is right or anything like that? Okay. Chidera, how about you? Did you get through number 2, or did I just kind of not nearly give you guys enough time for everything. Okay. Yeah, both? Okay, how come you think it's... Not how come. I don't know, there's not really a good way to explain this one, is there? I mean, I'm assuming what you did is basically just plugged the numbers into both of these. And then you found out they both had the exact same term answers. Yeah, correct. I mean, there's not really another way to explain it or say it, but yes. I mean, what you're saying is correct. It is both of them. So they both give the exact same term answers. And all that's really doing to show you guys is that there's going to be more than one way to write what you're looking for. Not that that's super helpful or anything, but yeah, no, that's correct. It is both. Eric, did you get the third one? Okay. $18 minus 28J, that's what you said? Yeah, yeah. Yep, that's correct. So, actually either one of these versions of the answer would have been good. So, I'm not so concerned with you guys being able to simplify and put them together because we're not going to need to do that, I guess, later on. It's just more, it seems strange that the 7J never changes, but that's absolutely correct. Oh, before we do this last problem, I can't remember how many or who in each class. I can go look it up if I need to. But there was a handful of people that either their submission for the last question on the test didn't work, or I just didn't get one, or something's wrong. So I did get everybody's tests corrected, and I was pretty happy with the results, to be honest. So you guys did very well overall as a group. There's just a handful of people that I need the last question from. So if you are one of those people, do that. In your score for the test, I put a note saying, if I need the work for the last one. Who was I was going to call somebody. I don't know. Marissa. Let's go with Marissa. Did you get the fourth one? Okay. So you thought the first one worked, but the second one did not. Okay, so 5 minus 8, negative 3, 5 minus 16. Yep, okay. Second one would be 0 minus 3, negative 3. 6 minus 3 would be positive 3, not negative 11. So perfect. B does not work. A did, so that works. Good. Okay, very good. And like I said, these 4 questions here, I took it straight out of Khan Academy from the homework questions so that you would know what they'd be like. So if you get one of these, I guess you get lucky, but you'll most likely get other questions since they have a really big pool of questions to pick from. So if you guys don't have any questions from yesterday, you're more than welcome to leave because we've got a half hour left, and I can help anybody who had questions from Riemann sums from yesterday if you want at this point. Yeah, you're welcome. And then Sam, I need to talk to you too. Yeah. Oh, too late. Okay. Oh, go ahead. Who had the questions from yesterday's? Like, I'm assuming you have a specific one that you did and couldn't figure out. Oh, Aiden. Today, you should only do summation notation. Yeah. If you could, that would be great. The problem with Schoology, their messenger system is so ridiculous. Like, it's really hard to find messages. um, okay. However, I mean, like, I can possibly try to go through and look for it, but I don't know what, like, email, email, I can search for your name and things like that. But for the Schoology messenger, it's just terrible. It's weird. If you send it with Schoology messaging today is fine because it'll be at the top, so it won't be difficult to get. If you, I don't know. I haven't used it enough to even know that. Yeah, whichever works. Yeah, I'm not. Okay, okay. Yeah, if you click on your sent messages, you should just be able to go underneath the sent message and type something new, and it'll send it to me again, and the picture should still be there. Sure. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Was it Bella? Did you have a question on the kind of the higher the n number, the thinner the piece gets broken up into. So, like, say you have a width of 5. If you have 10 rectangles, the width is a half. If you have 20 rectangles, the width is a quarter. So the more n values you have, the more rectangles, the thinner the width is, and so it balances each other out along the way. But it's not something you can calculate manually either because it's infinity. So that's why we're kind of, you don't have to know how to do that yet at all. That's what we're leading up to. I was just I was just kind of showing a preview of it yesterday, I guess. Yep. What you're having trouble putting together is we were talking about rectangles yesterday. And so the one number in the rectangle is the height, and the one number is the width. So you can have, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. Like the problems that we're doing today, we were just adding up numbers, right? And that's what you're kind of getting confused putting it between. So if you can think of today's work as just the heights, because when we have a function, we kind of determine the height of the rectangle from the function. So what we'd be adding is the heights, but the width value of the rectangle would get thinner as you have more of the heights being added. So let's say your heights add up to 20 and your width is 0.5. You'd end up with an area of 10. But let's say you do twice as many heights being added and it adds up to 40. Well, your width is going to be smaller, and so you'd still end up with an area. So it's kind of like today we were focusing on one dimension, where we were just talking about the summation of adding up different heights and things like that. But when we move it to the infinite ones that you're thinking about, it switches to two-dimensional. And so the two dimensions kind of balance each other out. So the answer won't get infinitely big. Oh yeah, to be honest, it'll probably take us 3 days. So the infinite ones will probably be, what's today? Thursday. Yeah.